Buonasera a tutti, sono Paola Boffo, collaboro con una Transform d'Italia e sono stata incaricata di coordinare questo panel abbastanza numeroso che vuole rappresentare un po' la situazione presente in vari paesi d'Europa. Intanto do il benvenuto quindi ai colleghi che vengono dalla Grecia. Scusate se sbaglio la pronuncia dei nomi. Dalla Grecia, direttrice dell'Istituto Nicos Poulantzas, che si chiama Danai Koltsida. Poi abbiamo Yiannos Katsourides dell'Istituto di ricerca Prometheus di Cipro. E João Mineiro del Bloco portoghese. Facciamo un primo giro quindi per rappresentare la situazione dei paesi del sud d'Europa, siccome non c'è abbastanza spazio qua, dopodiché faremo un cambio perché fanno parte del panel anche Attila Danai del Partito dei Lavoratori dell'Ungheria, Giri Malek della Società per il Dialogo Europeo della Repubblica Ceca, poi Giuseppe Cugnata del Spasmat dalla Francia ci esporrà il caso francese, e Daniel Kehl della Fondazione Rosa Luxemburg ci esporrà il caso tedesco. Io non ho preparato un intervento, è stato detto già molto in giornata da persone molto più autorevoli di me. Ho pensato soltanto di tracciare alcuni statement più che altro su quella che mi sembra essere una situazione che peraltro ho già condiviso con i partecipanti al panel, dalle quali mi sembra che vengono fuori poi un paio di domande che porrei ai partecipanti se vogliono rispondere a questi interrogativi. Questo panel ha una finalità appunto di contribuire a dare una rappresentazione, come dicevo, dei paesi europei, partendo dalla tesi che ci pare che l'Europa è ancora un puzzle che ci restituisce appunto il quadro frammentato di quello che attualmente è l'Europa e che l'Unione Europea cosiddetta esiste solo sulla carta. Nel manifesto di Ventotene, prima della fine della seconda guerra mondiale, si diceva tra l'altro che la rivoluzione europea, per rispondere alle nostre esigenze, dovrà essere socialista, dovrà cioè proporsi l'emancipazione delle classi lavoratrici e la realizzazione per esse di condizioni più umane di vita. Abbiamo avuto il modello sociale europeo, se ne è parlato anche poco fa, ma superato il modello sociale europeo che aveva l'intento di rispondere al bisogno di sicurezza degli stati che uscivano da conflitti mondiali e dai bisogni di sicurezza dei cittadini a cui era necessario offrire beni comuni e soluzioni a livello europeo, sappiamo tutti che il modello attuale dell'Unione Europea non è stato capace di contrastare gli effetti della crisi economica, anzi ha agito al contrario, appunto, ha agito con politiche procicliche, determinando il peggioramento delle condizioni di vita delle classi subalterne e l'aumento delle povertà e l'aumento dei processi di impoverimento. Il liberismo a cui sono state improntate le politiche ha condotto alla situazione che abbiamo ampiamente già trattato di sfiducia nei sistemi politici e nei sistemi partitici tradizionali, di disaffezione alla partecipazione elettorale anche nei paesi nei quali il voto è obbligatorio, e alla crescente disintermediazione nella rappresentanza degli interessi collettivi. La stessa comunicazione politica o la comunicazione dei politici ormai si fa direttamente sui social media, che hanno sostituito, soppiantato i canali formali di comunicazione politica e anche istituzionale. Abbiamo sotto gli occhi di tutti, in Italia in particolare, le dichiarazioni dei capo del governo, dei vice primi ministri, eccetera, si fanno prima di tutto attraverso Facebook più che attraverso Twitter. Le forme di democrazia diretta si sono affermate, si stanno affermando come uno strumento per dare ai cittadini più potere nelle decisioni pubbliche. La stessa elezione di capi di Stato negli Stati Uniti e nel Brasile sappiamo che è stata condizionata sostanzialmente dalla propaganda fatta attraverso i social media, quindi con un rapporto diretto con il committente, con la costruzione di processi di comunicazione, di costruzione del consenso, diciamo da un lato molto grezzi, da un lato molto sofisticati. Allora, se tutto questo lo condividiamo, quello che chiederei ai partecipanti, naturalmente, per quanto diciamo coerente con le loro presentazioni, sono un paio di cose, cioè i partiti populisti che sono cresciuti a causa di una domanda che non è stata soddisfatta evidentemente dai partiti tradizionali, soprattutto dai partiti e dai governi socialdemocratici, saranno in grado di soddisfarla questa domanda, e di conseguenza ci troviamo di fronte a un mutamento epocale o a un mutamento transitorio. E poi, questa è la domanda, non mi sembra molto facile rispondere a questa domanda, ma con quali forme, quindi, e con quali azioni si potranno contrastare i razzismi, i fascismi, i nazionalismi e quindi recuperare il processo di armonizzazione fra gli Stati e i popoli europei, che sembra interrotto o addirittura rovesciato, posto che questo recupero ci appaia desiderabile. E mi fermo qua e quindi do la parola in ordine di programma a Danai Koltsida dalla Grecia. Direi di stare nei 15 minuti. Allora, tengo il conto del tempo.
Thank you, and thanks to the organizers for having me here. I'm speaking after so many interesting interventions and panels. It's always a huge temptation to try and comment on everything, but I will stick to my point about the Greek case in order to respect the time limit. However, I want to start with a remark about the use of term populism. As many of the previous speakers, I'm not very in favor of this term. I don't find it sufficient or even useful for analyzing the current situation in Europe and in our respective countries. I think the fact that even since the 60s we haven't reached the common definition of this notion is characteristic. It is a term that has been used to describe very different parties and politicians, both from the right and the left. And I feel that the distinction between the right and the left is suitable and appropriate and helpful to analyze the situation. We don't need to discuss around populism. However, I do use this term in my presentation in order to respect the question posed by the organizers. However, I use it to refer exclusively to right-wing populism, and more especially in a way to exclude only the far-right parties that are neo-Nazi. mean by right-wing populism, I refer to all the far-right, nationalistic, xenophobic parties and politicians, except from the neo-Nazi part in Greece. That is a totally different question, as I will describe later. So, the right-wing populism, the extreme right in Greece is not so new as it's not new in the rest of Europe. After the dictatorship, meaning after the mid-70s, there have been 4+1 waves, as you will see. The first wave is since in the 80s. It's the party called EPEN. It is actually a party that had direct links to the dictators. It had a limited electoral presence. Its best score was 2.4% in the European elections of 1984. The second wave was the Poland Party, the political spring party. It was in the 90s. It followed the outburst, the nationalistic outburst of this decade. This party was a result of the outburst of the Macedonian question. I'm bringing it up because I believe many of you have followed what happened in Greece recently with the agreement with Northern Macedonia. It was in the 90s that the question was first brought in the public debate, and then the former Minister of Foreign Affairs, he was a member of the New Democracy, the right-wing government at the time, left the government to form this party, Poland. He's Anton Samaras. He was later the leader of New Democracy and the Prime Minister from 2012 to 2014. This party was active between 1993 and 1999. Its best score was also in European elections in 1994, but 8.65%. The third wave was the most well-known right-wing populist party in Greece. It was in the years 2000, the party was called Laos. You can see here the percentages. It was from 2004 to 2015. The party did not participate in the last elections. Laos began as a classical anti-globalization party, raising the discussion about the need to return to the traditional values. It posed the identity question. The party had strong ties to the Greek Orthodox Church, and it had a huge campaign against the exclusion of the religion from the ID papers of the Greek citizens. It was the most stable party of the right-wing populism from 2004 to 2015. Its best score was 7.15% in 2009 European elections. This party was also the first party that participated, the first right-wing populist party that participated in a government in Greece. It was in 2011, the Papadimos government, when New Democracy, the right-wing party, and PASOK, the Social Democratic Party, formed the government coalition with this little right-wing populist party, and it was the government that undertook the implementation of the first memorandum. This caused severe electoral losses to Laos and literally led to its extinction. The fourth wave was rather different. It was the alarming rise of the neo-Nazi Golden Dawn. That is why I said about 4+1 waves, the Golden Dawn is the +1. It is an openly neo-Nazi party with direct references to Hitler, etc. Until 2010 it was electorally marginal, but it was violently active in the streets of the country. It was for the first time in 2010 that the Golden Dawn party gained representation in the Municipal Council of Athens. It was the first time that the migrant question was raised and became central in the political debate. there was a neighborhood in Athens, Arios Panteleimonas, that was the field of confrontation, both political, ideological, but also violent confrontation against migrants in the streets. And after 2010, it was then that the nightmare became really public and really severe. In the national elections of 2012, I have to remind you that it was in 2012 there was what we call an electoral earthquake. It was when the Greek party system collapsed and changed severely. It's then that the Golden Dawn gained near 7% of the vote. And its percentage is stable since then, with the best voting, the best score of the party being in the 2014 European elections by 9.4%. It is quite interesting that the party did not transform after its electoral success. It continued having violent criminal activities in the streets. The leadership of the party is currently on trial for the murder of an anti-fascist, Paola Boffo, since September 2013. However, they have not still totally stopped the criminal activities. And it is alarming that their percentages, their share of the vote hasn't dropped even when the violent activities, criminal activities became public and widely known. The next case is the one of ANEL, Independent Greeks. It was the second time a right-wing populist party was in government in Greece, this time in coalition with Syriza, the party of the left. This party was a direct product of the dissolution of the party system. The first time it appeared in elections, it was in 2012, and it had its best score then with 10.6%. And since then it has been declining in vote share, even before the participation in government. It was actually the victim of the polarization between Syriza and the New Democracy. The participation of ANEL in government, that is, I think, is interesting. In the first government, before the third memorandum signed by Syriza, was based on a common anti-memoranda agenda. In the second government, after the signature of the memorandum, the basis of the coalition was an anti-establishment rhetoric of the old and the new political forces, anti-corruption goals, and also exiting the memoranda with pro-popular classes measures. If we are to assess the participation of the ANEL in the government, we have to point out that the participation of this party was an obstacle to progressive initiatives. They refused to vote in favor of progressive bills in the field of rights, such as the bill for the civil union for same-sex couples, the bill for the adoption of children by same-sex couples, the new citizenship code, and the bill about gender identity. It also had a severe impact on the foreign policy of the country. I remind you that the leader of ANEL, Panos Kamenos, was the Minister of Defense, and he shifted foreign policy and defense policy to a pro-USA direction and enhanced militarization. It also had an impact in the Greek-Turkish relationships, and the major effect was what happened with the Prespas agreement, an agreement that was the deal breaker between the government coalition and led to an outburst of nationalism. I think I will leave the information and have some general remarks to answer the questions. First of all, from the history of the right-wing populist parties in Greece, it appears that there is a long-standing direct relationship between the extreme right and the mainstream right expressed by New Democracy. all leaders and politicians that formed extreme right parties were exiting and then re-entering New Democracy. The one exception is always the Golden Dawn, that was neo-Nazi from the beginning until the end. The case of Anel, I think, answers the question made by Paola about how the crisis affected the electorate. It was not the voters of New Democracy, of the right wing, that left the party. It was mainly PASOK, the Social Democratic Party, that collapsed. The ANEL only had an outburst in May 2012 with 10%, but they then declined severely and did not cost electorally to the Greek right. I think that there is a clear class explanation here. It was left-wing, working class, and petty bourgeois voters that abandoned PASOK for Syriza. It was not the voters of New Democracy that abandoned the right-wing party for the extreme right. So, the role of the left, and I'm going to close with this and answer the second question. Okay, it's more than enough. Having Syriza as an alternative, a viable choice for the unsatisfied voters, was, in my opinion, the major obstacle to the rise of, or to the further rise of the far right in Greece. This is why, with the stable exception of the Golden Dawn, that is in the margins of the political system, we didn't have a successful populist right-wing party in Greece. It was also, even after the signature of the third memorandum, that one would expect to create a gap in representation and give rise to sentiments of resentment and disappointment. Syriza still was not only a responsible government, to use the distinction of Peter Mayer, but also the responsive government, not only paternalistic, deciding for the people, but also hearing the demands of the popular classes. Last remark. The alliance with right-wing populists is possible, happened in Greece. It was not a positive experience in my view. It legitimized the right-wing populist discourse and poisoned the well of democracy. It gave rise to dichotomic, hateful public discourse, nationalism, fake news and conspiracy theories, and it also made it impossible to form allies with other progressive democratic forces of the left or the social democracy. And it's not something that we can use whenever we want to and then abandon it. Always making an alliance with the right-wing populists backfires and poisons democracy.
Grazie Danai. Ho dimenticato di dire prima che ci sono delle cuffie, se qualcuno ne avesse bisogno, ci sono ancora delle cuffie, visto che tutti i componenti del panel parleranno in inglese o dell'inglese. E do adesso la parola a Yiannos, da Cipro.
Thank you very much, Paola, and thanks to the organizers for the invitation. I will start myself with a methodological comment, extending from what Harry said in the morning. The basic distinction that populism essentially contains between the pure people and the corrupt elites. Essentially, in my opinion, it ignores the existence in the primary role of social classes, which is the very essence of socialism. In this regard, my main objection to the use of populism as an analytical tool or as an ideology, as Katsourides has proposed in political science, it comes from this because I consider it to be more of a political strategy and the style of political discourse rather than an ideology. It can be found more or less to parties and actors of various ideological standings and not only to the left or the right. And in my opinion, when we use this for the extreme right in particular, in a way, when we equate populism with extremism, we essentially exonerate them from what they actually are. They are fascists, they are neo-Nazis and extreme rightists. Therefore, populism, I think it's a very light term to say for the extreme right. Having said that, and going directly to Cyprus, I have to say that populism, either as a discourse or as a major power in Cyprus, is not the case. However, there is what I could call circumstances of creeping populism in Cyprus, to which I will refer in a while after I present very briefly some contextual parameters that describe Cyprus politics as they currently stand. The first one is that there is a huge crisis of legitimation of the entire political system. The economic crisis was intensified by the many political and economic scandals that came to the fore in recent years, and the inability of the political parties and the governments of both the left and the right, unfortunately, to protect the people from this economic crisis and from the repercussions of the crisis. Therefore, there is a strong dichotomy between the people on the one hand and the political parties and the political personnel on the other. Secondly, the state of the economy with the consequences of the bail-in in 2013 are still at the heart of most of the discussions on the island. And here the main thing is that both the left and the right, which have gathered during the crisis years in Cyprus, they are both accused of having presented no solutions to the problems of the people. Thirdly, there is the always present Cyprus problem. I won't bother you with this, but in the context of the Cyprus problem, there is a revival of nationalism in Cyprus society in recent years, which is one, we all agree that nationalism is one of the most important ingredients of right-wing populism. And fourth, there are the many unresolved issues of internal administration. For example, the introduction of a national health system and the reform of the judicial system, particularly in recent months when there have been a lot of accusations of nepotism and favor towards the banks by the judges. All the above suggests that there are important contextual parameters that could provide the fertile ground for populism to rise. However, and compared to other European Union member states, populism in Cyprus, as I have said, seems to be a limited force, and it does not present a real threat to the mainstream political parties, either on the left or the right. What is definitely present is what I have already called a creeping populism, and I will highlight the major trends of this creeping populism, which can be taken up anytime by any political force, even non-political actors. And when I say non-political actors, I refer more to technocrats, the general attorney and some other commissioners which do have this technocratic profile. These trends are found repeatedly in national opinion polls and the Eurobarometers. The first one, there is a very strong sense of identification with ethnicity and country. The sense of national identity is very strong among the Cypriots, the Greek Cypriots. I'm talking mostly about the Greek Cypriots, but it applies the same for the Turkish Cypriots. Most of the Greek Cypriots and the Turkish Cypriots identify themselves with their ethnicity and their state rather than Europe. Second, and also related to the first one, is that Turkey and immigration are the two real threats to peace and security in Cyprus. This is the perception of Cypriots. And these two issues are among the most privileged ones for populist actors, not only in Cyprus, but all over Europe. And this perception on Turkey and immigration, it resonates well with the increase of nationalism in the context of the Cyprus problem. Thirdly, there is a perception, again, which comes out from the polls, that ethnic diversity destroys the unity of the country. And this is a widely held perception among the Cypriots. Again, this can be easily directed against immigrants and other minorities in Cyprus, and particularly against the Turkish Cypriots. Fourth, there are very low levels of trust in national institutions. The political parties in Cyprus, for example, in the last 10 years, they are trusted by less than 8% of the population. Very recently, it's not only the parties, it's the national parliament, the government, the president, the media, the Cypriot central bank, and the judiciary. This indicates that there is a great disappointment among the Cypriot citizens with the entire political system, which can be easily taken up by populist actors. Fifth, the economic situation and corruption are again two of the most important problems faced by the Cypriots, which again lay the ground for future political populist actors. And this is covered by widely held perceptions that socio-economic changes in recent years have increased the gap between rich and poor, between the privileged and the underdogs. Sixth, there is a widely held perception of corruption among public officials. Most Cypriots believe that corruption among public officials is widespread, and this is one of the most privileged things as a precondition for the emergence of populism. Seven, there is perception that all political parties are the same, and this has increased after the left has governed from 2008 to 2013, and it is considered to have done nothing more than all the other parties that have governed in the past. According to some surveys, there is no distinction. They consider all mainstream parties and all major parties, big parties, to be the same. But this does not apply with the small parties. Therefore, again, there is a precondition that some of the small parties, in particular the extreme right one, that could easily capitalize this feeling. And the final indicator for me of creeping populism is that Cypriot citizens increasingly favor technocratic solutions, and they sideline all ideological and political discussions. The rise of technocracy is a threat not only to the left, but for liberal democracy itself too. All these results from the polls, when they are compared with the ideology of the people who answered, there is a good thing in this, that those who express the above positions are mostly found among the nationalists, those who identify themselves as nationalists and not the left-wingers. This is again an important indication that shows that the possibility of populism is far bigger on the right than on the left of the ideological spectrum. So where this situation leaves us? The findings I have summarized above indicate that there is definitely the preconditions for the emergence and rise of populism in Cyprus. It can take, whenever this occurs, either socio-economic or cultural characteristics, or the both, because the discontent is based on both of these characteristics. In addition to the above, the role of the current right-wing government is crucial in this respect, because they fit the populist master with feelings of nationalism, policies of finding scapegoats to cover their failures, and also with their neoliberal economic policies, which also creates a huge depository of discontent among the population against the entire political system. In my opinion, it's only a matter of time before some political actor takes advantage of this. And the most possible candidate to do that is the extreme right National Popular Front, ELAM, which has risen in the most recent elections, and it can be seen as an important indicator of populism, although this is not their defining characteristic. ELAM, just for sharing some of what they are, is essentially a branch of the Greek Golden Dawn. Danai already spoke about the Golden Dawn. They tried to register as a branch of Golden Dawn in Cyprus because they consider Cyprus to be a part of Greece. This was not allowed by the General Attorney, and therefore they presented with a different name. They carefully position themselves as nationalists. They declare openly that they are nationalists, but not neo-Nazis, who struggle for their country against the corrupted political and economic elite that has governed Cyprus since independence. ELAM has all the features which are attributed to right populism, a strong sense of nationalism, xenophobia, authoritarianism, and populist characteristics. And for the first time in Cyprus electoral history, they have entered the parliament with 2 MPs in 2016, and now they are serious contenders for the 6th seat of Cyprus in the forthcoming European elections. The polls show that they are almost 11%. I'm not sure if this will come out in the polls, but for the time being, they are at 11%. They are the 3rd political party in Cyprus. 4th. A closing remark on the status of the left. 2 minutes and I'm done. I have to say that the left is in a very awkward position. It is very privileged by nature to take up the discontent, but at the same time is unable to do so. This is probably the legacy of its presence in government for 5 years, which resulted, as I already pointed out, in looking just the same as all other political forces. Electorally, in the elections that followed the exit from government in 2013, the left has lost a significant portion of its power, almost 30%. From 33% now it's 25%. And although there was a sign of resurgence in the last presidential elections, this is not a very good indicator of resurgence. I mean, because of the nature of these elections with the presidential, with the individualistic character of the candidates. I'm done. I'm almost done in 1 minute. I'm done. The forthcoming European elections will show whether the strategy of the left to combine, firstly, a strong focus on the need to resolve the Cyprus problem, and secondly, an attacking political discourse against the government, but unfortunately, without having a really pragmatic alternative program to propose, will bear any fruits. The polls for the time being are not so clear on that. They show that the left is approximately 16 to 18%. But the essence is that the Cypriot left seems entrapped. It can easily identify the wrongs and misgivings of the system, but at the same time is unable to propose a solid solution that could generate trust and support among the people. Moreover, when it found itself in a position to do something different, it proved unable to do so. The reasons are many and diverse, but are not the focus of my present presentation. Thank you very much, and I hope I was on time.
Hi everyone, thanks a lot for the invitation, it's a pleasure. A spectre is hunting Europe, the spectre of populism. But what do we talk about when we talk about populism? What characterizes it from a social, cultural and political point of view? In Portugal the debate is divided. Many people, starting with the President of the Republic, say that we are a blessed country where populists don't want to live. I don't know if it's the diet or it's the weather, but the fact is many people ensure that this political species cannot survive in our beautiful land. On the other hand, many other people, especially some conservative intellectuals, have warned us that Portugal not only has populism, that Portugal not only has populism, but populism is now in the power with the Portuguese Communist Party and the left bloc supporting the government. In the most of published opinion in Portugal, populism is just a rhetorical construction that intends to include who, on the left, fight against neoliberal orthodoxy. Of course, in this point of view, populism is just an instrumental concept, an adversarial designation that usually clarifies more about who points than about who is appointed. Despite this, the populist moment reflects a set, in my perspective, reflects a set of social, cultural and political changes. It is necessary to reflect on these factors to realize if populism can grow in Portugal. First one, contemporary populism expresses a new relationship with the idea of the future, which seems less appealing today than the idea of a return to the past. Utopia has been replaced by heterotopia, as Bauman wrote in his last book before he died. And if we want a better picture of how the future is designed in our collective imagination, we just have to watch every episode of a Netflix series Black Mirror, or a success of Disney like WALL-E, when a character imagine the world destroyed. The end of the world, actually, as we know it, it seems actually more likely than the end of capitalism. But populism also reflects a set of transformations in the relationship between information, truth, and communication. Media system has become fertile for the practice of a certain type of journalism, where a class of opinion makers monopolize the means of a symbolic economy, of the profusion of ideological dogmas, disguised as technical knowledge. As sure as the sun rises every morning, it's their ability to occupy all the media channels to reproduce an arsenal of ideology. At the same time, millions of people are now virtually connected from social media. They are they are an instrument of the profusion of fake news, as we know, in a context of radicalization and tribalization. But in recent years, they have been also a vital instrument of all social demonstration, which had faced the economic and financial order that populism feeds on. Finally, populism is the spectacularization of the political field in its great expression. A political process that externalizes the politics of those who do not participate and the monopoly of the means of production of institutional political phenomena. Institutional closure is one of the clearest forms of the political domination, who turns politics in a sectoral and specialized social practice with ultra-regulated participation. For most citizens, there are only two political alternatives left: either the dismissal of the political process through abstention, or dispossession through the unconditional delegation. This is the most fertile social ground for the arrival of a savior, a messiah, a hero, or an anti-hero, ready to embody, like no other, the spirit of the nation, the people, or the mistreated country. What does this have to do with Portugal, you ask? In fact, all these ingredients exist in Portugal, and no one in this room should think that Portugal will be an exception in the European context. But in fact, although there is a populist far right in Portugal, it still doesn't have political institutional expression. Why is that so? There are several factors that can explain it. Many of them are historical ones. Unlike other countries in southern Europe, Portugal overthrew fascism through a revolutionary process where 1 million hectares of land were occupied, where we had thousands of self-management factories, where the banking and the strategic sectors of the economy were nationalized. It is still very difficult for the far right to win votes when this memory is still very much present in our society. Other factors have an institutional nature. The main Portuguese parties did not sink during this crisis. The Socialist Party, the traditional Socialist Party, remains the hegemonic party on the left, and we have two right-wing parties with a large parliamentary representation, which make the emergence of a third force on the right much more difficult in the political field. Portugal has a political system that has plurality and stability. At this time, for instance, there are 7 parties represented in parliament, no one has the majority, and yet there is political stability. But there are also some conjuncture factors, such as the absence of a migratory crisis. Portugal has only 4% of immigrant population, and have only received 1,500 refugees since 2015, and it's very important. Moreover, of course, there have been no terrorist attacks during these last years. Finally, the current political context has also proven anti-populist. If during the crisis period we were resisting against the government and Troika, since 2015 the political situation has changed. The new government, with the parliamentary support from the left, created new expectations and the new social struggles to achieve them. Social movements are fighting for real achievements, and that changed everything. I posit that these are some factors that can explain the inability of the far-right organization to have an expression on the political field. But we need to be careful because the populist right-wing discourse are actually growing up in our society. What the left should do in this context, and I will finish with this. As I started in this presentation, first I think we need to re-establishing an idea of the future as an open horizon and made of multiple possibilities. There are no social struggles without collective imaginaries. Besides that, we need to think about how to face technological threats and create a left digital self-defense strategy. In this context, we also need to think about how to rescue journalism as a critical practice. Furthermore, we must face the crisis policy by responding to the crisis of politics. We need to break the spectacularization of the political field. We need more political work in society and fewer holograms in our campaigns. Finally, the political and social left organization should create an ambition and radical program to the political, economic and ecological change, and also new organizational methods in society that can change the social perception of what politics is and how we can appropriate it collectively. It is in society, and just in society, that we can win or lose everything we fight for. Thanks a lot, and thanks for excellent presentation.
C'è qualcuno che vuole intervenire in questa fase?
Well, all the presentations were really very interesting and illuminating regarding the situation in these three countries from the south, the European south. I just want to emphasize the one sentence which was put on the table by Yiannos, the issue of creeping populism. And to connect it with what Comrade Morris said in the previous day. Well, I think having in mind some polls in the Greek situation regarding the institutions which are respected more in the country, we find, and this throughout many years, first is the army, second is the church, and at the very end, it's the parties and the political parties. The same recycles. If this is the case, then that means that we have not, as leftists, we have lost completely the game of hegemony in society. And so when we just plan our election campaigns, which is something that we cannot avoid, I mean, we are living in this earth, we should at least stay for a while before or after the elections and think how we can root how can our ideas find, be rooted in our societies? Because, this is the real danger, and what Comrade Moritz said before, that fascism has not been defeated culturally, seems that it has certain grains of truth.
Altri interventi dal pubblico? E se non ci sono altri interventi, allora procederei a questo cambio di tavolo, ringraziando